All right. Took a little long to go into record mode. Guys, welcome to the fifth episode of the Mortgage Coach 10X strategy. I've interviewed Shayla Gifford multiple times. I don't even know Shayla. I mean, it's been a lot now, right?
Definitely a handful. And it's seriously a joy every time. You challenge me. I feel so inspired by this community. I've watched people blow up their business, Dave. And in watching them be in the world and the way they communicate with clients, I know directly it's been an influence of you and all the incredible people that you bring into the community. So seriously, like, so cool to be here.
Yeah, I think it's time to make a Shayla Gifford playlist. So on our YouTube channel, this is the call. We're gonna have a playlist for Shayla. Jeremy was the first playlist, and I've interviewed Jeremy more times than not. I mean, hundreds probably. Today, Jeremy's going to co-host this sales training with me. I do want to set expectations for everyone watching this. This is not just another Mortgage Coach interview. This really is, the goal has intention around sales training. I'm going to show my screen real quick. What you're looking at right now is the Mortgage Coach 10X training page. So you can go to mortgagecoach.com 10X. It is the end of August of 2023. And it's brutal out there, guys. Like, you know, every loan officer is like, what can I do to get one extra loan? And today we're going to like, hey, one extra loan. Well, not this month. There's only 2 days left. Next month, but do it in a way that you can 10X it. Like if you listen to Shayla and Jeremy, you'll be able to 10X one loan a month, one extra realtor, and then do all this in a way that's reducing price exceptions. I do want to remind folks, we're going to keep this going next month. So if I've already done the interview, there'll be a link to watch it. We'll see who we're going to interview next week. They'll be up here in a couple of days. This will be green by the end of the day. And then remind you guys, this is a full resource. Like below here is everything you need to get trained on Mortgage Coach, daily live trainings. Above here, we've got a playlist in our YouTube channel. So special playlist for Mortgage Coach 10X. And last but not least, we have a playbook. You know, we designed this for both managers and loan officers as just a playbook for training. So Shayla, when I reached out, I wanted you to be part of this training, and we landed on, you know, how you're winning with realtors, and then you kind of made a shout out, and builders. Why don't you kind of share your why around realtors and builders?
Well, the why is always that we do not find success until we help other people find success. And, you know, my heart is really connected to builders, not only because I've worked with several builders as a preferred lender, but because my whole family is in the construction industry. So I've been on a job site since I was 2 years old. My dad's had a drywall company, drywall and stucco, for over 40 years. My brothers build custom homes and subdivision homes, and also have a real estate brokerage and a bar and some other things. But I'm personally invested in subdivisions and rental properties and the whole deal. And I just intimately understand how these cycles affect home builders, especially when you have a big engine. You've got staff, you've got your construction crew, you've got financing that ticks off interest every single day. And it is vital that we provide that important partnership role as a lender to be strategic and to be creative and to constantly challenge the way we're communicating against mainstream media and social media and just fear and what people traditionally know and think about making smart financial decisions. So that's definitely my passion around builders. And then, you know, realtors and loan officers is the same. I really believe that sales is the best career in the world. I think if you want to find yourself, you want to work on your stuff, just get into sales, because it exposes all of our stuff. It exposes our feelings of unworthiness. It exposes our insecurities. It exposes all this stuff that you know, we try to protect and hide behind, because oftentimes the reason you're not finding the success is all the blocks that you're putting forward, all the stuff that you're trying to hold back versus just really being all in and letting it all go. And so I love this industry because it doesn't matter how long you've been doing this. It doesn't matter how many trophies you got on the wall. It doesn't matter where you went to school. It really depends on can you find a way to help people solve their problems today? Can you continue to evolve and adapt and learn and grow? And are you willing to hustle? Are you willing to do whatever it takes? And it rewards that, which for me has always been something I can't get enough of. I can't stand BS that's political and who you know and whose ass you kiss. Like I just have never wanted to be in those kind of settings. So this industry has just kept me fully engaged for 19 years. And I just want to double down on helping those people that are hungry, that are humble, that are curious, that want to learn. Like those are the people I'm interested in talking to right now and giving them everything I got, whether they're a realtor or a loan officer.
Boom. Love that. Jeremy, anything you want to ask before we get into tactics, strategies, and a full-on conversation?
Yeah, I always want to ask Shayla lots of questions, so I won't monopolize the time of asking her questions, but like, how do you direct that passion so clearly? Like, what's the easiest way to do that? That's always my number one takeaway when I hang out with you, whether it's at a restaurant with one of your loan officers or talking to you, watching you, learning from you. Like, you have this incredible ability to translate that passion into direct focus on what it is with a target sniper sight. Like, how do you do that?
That's an interesting takeaway. In fact, I was in Vegas this weekend for our anniversary, Jeremy, and I was thinking about you the whole time. We went to Nobu Sushi, and I was like, not nearly as good as the dinner I had with Jeremy at the Cosmos. So, well, I think first of all, I think what you're describing, Jeremy, is maybe like the feeling of what it's like to be around somebody who's passionate. And maybe
Yes.
you can clarify what the feeling is when you're around me and my intensity, enthusiasm, whatever it is that's coming out, like how that makes you feel. But I remember learning a long time ago that, you know, that saying, it does not matter what you say. It does not matter what you do. People will remember how you made them feel. And so I really think about that. If I'm going to be with somebody, I'm going to be all in for that somebody. So if I'm sitting across the desk from a borrower, they're going to feel that intensity of care and concern and curiosity and, you know, strategically trying to figure out what they need in this moment and what's stopping them, what are their fears. And if it's with a friend over dinner or we're on the boat or we're wherever, I bring that to the table. So there's a lot of things I'm not great at, Jeremy. I'm not great. As you and I know, I'm not great at just random phone calls to shoot the shit. I'm not good at like this consistent whatever, but I am all in when I'm with you. And so anybody that raises their hand or that I'm consistently in with, I think they feel that in the moment. So Phil Jones talked a lot about it on this call. And when he came into an event for me in Reno, that he talked about staying curious. I think that's like your life motto, Dave Savage. And I really feel blessed, Jeremy, that that's something I learned, but it's also something naturally who I am. Like, I really want to understand people, why they behave the way they do, what their dreams are, what's standing in the way. Can I just divert for a second? Because I could tell you guys something that's I'm really spinning out on right now.
Yeah.
It's just this thought about perception versus reality, right? Like when we understand that people's perception is their reality, it's all about what they perceive. So if somebody
We lost Shayla there, huh, Jeremy?
No, man. I think that the reality is that she's not on right now. And that is my perception.
That is my perception.
That is reality.
I'm sure she'll be back in a minute. There she is. So was that part of your perception versus reality message?
Yeah.
Did you disappear and come back?
the whole narrative gap, Renee Rodriguez narrative gap.
She was actually here the whole time. Yeah.
So, like if somebody's upset, I really try hard to not take that personally and just realize that that's their perception. So the perception is that something's not working well, or the perception is that, it went down this way. And, what can I do to help create the perception that is real, that is honest, that is what I intend for them to have, right? So I've just coached like 2 powerful, beautiful women over the last 5 days, and both being frustrated that they're not getting the results that they want. And, they're tracking their sales activity. They're doing fanatical prospecting with me, right? So they are making the calls and they're seeing the people and they're putting themselves out there a lot, but yet they don't feel like the success is happening. And so I'm strategically thinking, and I'm curious, and I'm going, okay, do you think the perception is that you've got all your shit together? Like, do you ever feel like people are maybe intimidated by you? I mean, you're beautiful. You got this great ass. You're happily married. You're in shape. Like you're totally put together. You're dialed in, and maybe you don't feel approachable, or maybe they don't think you need the business. I dealt with this a lot being a top producer. Like, oh, I love Shayla, but then they met the next loan officer that they felt that person needed it, or that they were a little hungrier, or whatever the case is. So I just ask everybody right now, as we're in this season, to get off of every call and go, how was that? How did I make someone feel? Did they really feel like I heard them, that I cared about them, that I want to solve their problem, like that I'm a partner, that I will do whatever it takes? Was that what came away from that? And then what is the perception? If I'm meeting somebody cold, I'm meeting a stranger, did they feel warm? Did it feel safe? Did it feel connected, or did it feel surfacey? Did it feel like I was just playing a role and had my mask on, versus like letting them know what my dreams and goals are, letting them know how hungry I am, letting them know that this feels uncomfortable, or I feel vulnerable. I can't even, believe I'm sitting here at coffee with you. I've been nervous since yesterday to be here. And like, they feel that rawness, that emotion. So it's something I've been thinking a lot about, because I think this is more than ever, we are in hardcore sales territory. And if you embrace it, you will get to work on your stuff. And if you break through right now, you will forever be different. And maybe your ability to just be more authentic to yourself, more vulnerable, more out there, like just living more bold. So I don't know. I don't know if that helps answer any of your questions, Jeremy, but it's what I'm thinking about.
It did. And I want to make sure everyone pulls a really key word that Shayla repeated over and over and over. And that key word was curiosity, and this genuine curiosity. We are at a point in the mortgage industry where I do believe, like, it's not just another year in the mortgage business. Like, if you are not truly inspired and an educator, you're just not going to gain market share. Like, Shayla's experience, Jeremy's experience in this industry is different than the average loan officer who's, here's your rate, here's your payment. Their passion for prospecting is different. Like Jeremy knows in his core of his soul that, his advice matters. Like, if someone doesn't get to talk to him and they're buying a home, like, for them, like, they're missing out. Shayla knows that in her core. So I feel like this was a great opening and a great piece to have part of this training, because part of becoming, like, Mortgage Coach 10X is about turning loan officers into advisors. And if you aren't curious, if you're not driven by care and curiosity, you don't get to play this game. You don't get to have this passion. And I know you're just, super passionate about fanatical prospecting. I signed up, I got the book, you're killing it. I will say part of the way you turned that into a program inspired me to, like, oh, I need a program. And I was like, I believe prospecting is super important. Probably the single most important thing, because if you don't have buyers and prospects to give advice to, like, you can't become a great advisor. So you got to prospect. But tell me if you agree with this, Shayla. I also think it's kind of hard to be a badass prospector if you're not an advisor. Like, if you don't know within the core of yourself that my advice makes a difference in the way I help consumers make decisions in this market, if you don't, like, believe that and you don't know that, then you probably can't optimize your prospecting. What's your thought on that?
Yeah, he or she who has the most confidence wins. We all have
Boom.
heard of the law of attraction, and you know those people that are just sparkling, right? That you're like, wow, you know, if you are really good at building rapport, like I've been going through the 4 processes of a sale: initial contact, build rapport, close, follow up. And 90% of salespeople say that their best skill set is building rapport. And I'm like, okay, well then if you are best ever, if you are the most masterful at that one skill, then you have taken somebody from not only just being interested in you and being wowed, but being fascinated by you. You're that person that 3 months later, you've got somebody gripped. They haven't forgot your name. They haven't forgotten the experiences. It's, you know, and this is why Jeremy and I love each other. Like it could be 4 years and we have this time together and it's just like, whoa, like so magic. And it could be another 4 years and it's fine. And I just think that that's what we've got to go for, is mastery and confidence. I've been thinking a lot about this topic as well. Confidence, I think, like enduring true confidence, not like fake it till you make it, not like I have it in this one scenario, but not in all these and whatever, but true enduring confidence, I think, comes from 2 areas, which is number 1, a belief that you are capable. A belief that you are capable. And then the second area of confidence is a belief that you're lovable. So it's really cool being married to my husband, and you guys both know him, Jeremy, really well, but Galen has had a confidence from being lovable. There's just something about that guy that he's just like, of course, everyone's going to love me. And he has like no reservation about that. And guess what they do? Because often what you expect and you believe is exactly your life experience. So it doesn't matter where Galen meets anybody, anytime, they're like, oh, I love Galen, right? I've had to work on my lovability. I've had to learn to love myself and to find my worthiness. And it's as simple as a mantra, an affirmation that keeps saying, I love myself. I love myself. I love myself. Because otherwise I've been looking for it externally. I've been looking for more of those freaking trophies and shit on the wall to prove that I'm worthy and lovable. And, you know, my love has come through my achievements. But man, if you can have both, if you can wake up and walk through life saying, I am capable and I am lovable, forget about it. Because there's not this like desperation. There's not this hunger. There's a sense of like groundedness and confidence of like, I'm the right choice and you're going to love me. And it's not cocky at all. It's coming from like, I'm in this conversation because I care about you and I want to help you and I want to know your goals. Like if somebody is a douche, I'm not going to be in that conversation giving them everything I've got. But if somebody is somebody I really like or care about, then it's all in on those things. So when you talk about confidence from being capable, I think the lovable one's harder. Okay. I've done a lot of therapy. I've done all kinds of stuff, and I'm going to work on it for the rest of my life. Galen's got to work on capable, and he's got his own therapist and he's working on his stuff. He had dyslexia and ADHD. And so that's harder for him. But this is capability is what you could control. Watching those trainings that Dave has done just for this segment, Dave, and you just create, innovate. It's amazing. But that is what you can control. You can control your belief in yourself of being capable. Now, does that mean you know how to do everything, or you walk into a builder meeting knowing everything, like any question they could possibly ask you, you know? Hell no. You've got to believe in your capability to have the ability to go figure something out, to have the ability to build relationships with people that are smarter than you and care for those relationships, such as your underwriters and your processors and your teammates. You know, people on the Gifford team are smarter than me now. They are faster than me. You know, I'm 42. They're like, you know, and I never thought that would be the case, that I would get lapped up on that stuff, because I had pride in my, you know, nerdiness and speed and all that kind of stuff. Right. So that's what I want to talk about, is just this feeling of capability. And in addition to, you know, the perception and am I all in, and am I about others, not myself, asking yourself before you go into a meeting, before you do anything, do I feel capable? Am I capable to do this?
So Shayla Gifford's 3 C's: curiosity, care, and capability.
And so before we get to capability, because I really want to focus on some skill-based training around being an advisor, and how, as an advisor, a mortgage coach, you can win with builders. But Jeremy, before I do that, any other, high-level questions or just questions you have for Shayla
Too
before we
many.
drill down on some
It's
strategies?
totally all good. Yeah, I wrote down a bunch of stuff that I will circle back with Shayla at a different time, so that I respect the 37 minutes here. But excellent. So you did what you showed everyone is how you can be super effective, right? Like being all in with the people. I mean, you answering the question literally shows what a superpower is that you have, but that everyone can learn too, right? And it does take a lot of work, but you answered it. It translates into everything you do. That's why people listen to you. That's why people follow you. And I appreciate you answering that.
You know what I think you've embraced too, Jeremy, and what I would say to everybody is we all have an intensity about ourselves. And
Yeah.
I used to think this word was a bad word
Me
because,
too.
listen, I've been intense my whole life. And I remember saying to my dad one time, like, I'm sorry I was such a hard kid. And he's like, no, you weren't. But my perception of myself was that I was tough because I was intense, right? Like I wanted to know the answer, and I was bossy, and I had I had opinions about things and whatever. So let your intensity fly a little bit, because if it's intensity with the right intention, like I'm here to love you intensely. I'm here to listen intensely. I'm here to ask questions intense. I mean, Galen will be with me and he'll be like, all right, Shayla, you're on question 99. Like, are you going to let up on this guy? And I'm like, this is just me. This is how I really get to know somebody. And that's my approach. His approach is totally different. He does it through enthusiasm, just this way of being. I just like not my style. So, one of the skill sets that a lot of people struggle with is like closing skills. And so since this is a sales training and you're going to be asking a lot of questions to figure out what strategy is needed in this case, like what is the fear that this borrower has right now? What is the fear that this builder really has right now? You have to surface that first rather than just go into presentation mode on something that doesn't matter. And then second to that, you then have to close. You have to ask for the next appointment or ask for the sale or ask for the opportunity. And so this is where intensity helps, right? Like last week, I was at a sales conference and one of the guy goes, I'm typically really direct. I'm very bullet pointed direct. So when it comes to like closing, I actually tend to pull back because I'm afraid that I will just over close or overrun into them. And I said, well, okay, how can, somebody said to me, Shayla, you're gracefully direct. And so I don't know if many guys, Jeremy and Dave, want to be gracefully direct, but as a chick, like I love that. I love to be powerful and graceful at the same time. I think for men, being respectfully direct, but guys, don't you want to know a yes or no? Like just yes or no. If it's a no, I can move on. I can go on and go, what you need is not what I could provide. That's okay. Next. So in terms of intensity, if you're listening to the customer and you're taking notes, and then you got to rephrase with them. And it might be something like, hey, Jeremy, we've just spent the last 35 minutes going over your goals and talking about your dreams in this house. And I've looked at your financials and we've kind of talked about some of the fears that you have. Can I just tell you, I'm so grateful for what you've been willing to share with me. Like, this is such an honor for me. And I want you to know that you could choose among thousands of loan officers. You could go online tomorrow and talk to somebody on a 1-800 number. You could talk to my 3 competitors within a mile of here. But I can promise you that no one's going to care about the end result and about being with you through this process like I will. And I really hope that you choose to work with me. That was intensity with total genuine care. So there's no script that this, like, I just want to keep you guys in that presence and intensity. If you feel like you're going through life on your heels, like, ooh, I don't want to overdo it. I don't want to step in. I don't want to be cheesy. What you're saying is what you don't want. Instead of what I do want is for you to feel that I'm all in, feel that I'm going to do whatever it takes. So with that being said, we could talk about strategies.
Yeah, so let's transition to strategies. I do want everybody to write down another word called constructive tension. And I've interviewed hundreds of the most elite loan officers, probably over 1,000. And something that differentiates good and average and great is constructive tension. You know, Shayla calls it gracefully direct. Whatever you call it, the best of the best are leaders. They tailor, they ask great questions because they care and they're driven by curiosity. They teach, you know, they teach the consumer, they teach the builder, they teach the realtor something they didn't know. Like when I founded MortgageCoach, it was called Wow Tools, because I was just like, that was my game. Like, ask great questions, wow, and then lead. And so I just want you guys to like, that is the key to sales. That is the key to winning in this market. So let's get into some capabilities, you know, and strategies. And let's kind of lean towards builders, just because you are probably one of the best people in the country that can really teach on that. Feel free to connect it to realtors, like, oh, here's the builder strategy, but it also works with realtors. But let's, you know, share some ideas in ways that folks can be, you know, valuable in this market with their advice.
Well, first of all, you've got to know where the builder's at in their sales and build cycle. You know, I've got one builder who is going to have about 102 homes ready and completed by the end of the year that need to sell. So they're really thinking about spec home inventory. And the minute that that comes off the line and it's done, they've got C of O, how can they have it sold and closed? And they're also thinking about their budget and how much they can sacrifice of their sale and their profit, if not all of it, to get the sale done, to keep the engine going so that they have a new start, so that they, you know, they don't have their lapse in sales as the market recovers. So it's then educating that builder, what's the best way to communicate this incentive? Because you guys know that people buy a home, they don't buy an interest rate. People buy a home, they don't buy a $20,000 incentive. And I think what a lot of the builders are struggling with is that their salespeople, for example, if you go to any of the publics, they've got a new different incentive like every week or every month, because they've just been throwing noodles at the wall, just trying anything to get people in the sales office and get buyers unafraid and to just get there. So what the salespeople end up doing is saying, oh, well, we've got this 20,000 incentive. Actually, we got this 4.99. Now we've got a 6%. And again, this isn't what people are buying. That's the aftermath of getting excited about the home. So doing sales training with the salespeople is really critical, just like it is doing sales training for us as the loan officers. Doing discovery, finding out what they aren't happy with in their existing home, what are their motivations to buy, really asking those questions, and then working in tandem with those sales agents to be doing that discovery on our side as well. There's so much value in this, you guys. And if people understood the leverage, if a realtor, builder, sales agent understands the leverage they have in their sales conversion with us being their partner, an equally trained, focused, diligent salesperson, it's so much easier to make that sale and to convert that sale because you've got two people really listening and really solutioning for that buyer. Okay, so that's fundamentally. From the builder strategy side, it then goes, well, where's their challenge? Is their challenge getting people through the door and getting traffic? Well, what has got to be the messaging that is on a billboard or a website or a Sunday newspaper where they're advertising? Does it need to be an interest rate? Does it need to be payments as low as? Does it need to be, you know, whatever? Does it need to be the $25,000 toward, you know, incentive? And they can try and test different things. But one thing that I found is that they struggle with, you know, when the sales agents have the incentive, being able to explain it. Okay. So I think there's two things here. There's first, creating, you know, flyers and tools that people can use. And I'll share one that we created. And then there's really good TCAs with videos, which I'll share. So this is one that we created for one of our builders. And what I want you to notice is trying to talk to people in regular language. We learned this, Dave, from you saying, let's call it a strategy, not an option. Let's also title our columns and strategies with words people understand. So what I did here simply was take a 4% builder credit and say there's 4 different ways that you could utilize this credit. And this is intended for the sales agent to have really powerful conversations where once they've loved the home, now they can start imagining that they've got different strategies to work with. Okay. So for example, the first one is achieves the lowest payment. Well, that's a permanent buy down. We have to stop saying we got a permanent buy down. What the hell does that mean? Again, they're falling in love with the home and their problem is they need the lowest payment. Okay, let's communicate that way. The second blue box is achieves the lowest out of pocket. So that's simply using the credit as a closing cost credit because now they're coming in with the least investment, right? The dark blue is an ease into home ownership, which is a temporary buy down. And then the third is, this is the builder special rate. So we did actually a lock and list on this one where we locked in that property while it was still, it was still the builder. So the builder can offer a locked in rate on our locked in rate sheet. And other strategies for builders, we're doing forward lock commitments. So we'll go in and do a $3 or $5 million forward lock commitment. They can advertise a rate. The rates aren't bouncing around. You guys, volatility has never been like, literally, if you go look at the last year and a half, we've had 8 times where the rates have come down and then boom, bounce back up again. And they've come down and they've bounced back up again. So anything that you can do to smoothen that out. We're also doing forward lock commitments. I've got a TCA right here that Scott Stout did for us. Scott's like a 4-year loan officer of ours at Guild. He's in the top 10 of TCAs for Guild. I was really proud of Scott. He was an LOA and he's really embraced this. And Dave, I'll share these TCAs because when you watch Scott's video and how he communicates, I'm like, this guy is 100% mortgage coach trained and it is so inspiring. And he's made President's Club and done all kinds of things as a new BLO, right? But he's capable. So he's demonstrating here a 12-month rate lock. And he's also demonstrating a 12-month rate lock with a buy down at 7.5. And then he's also saying, well, what if the rates stay the same? And we did a float down because that's part of a long-term lock. And then where rates could be at the time of lock. So he's really explaining a long-term lock because builders, if they've got spec homes, they need help with strategies to sell these spec homes now. If they have houses they need to sell further out, well, then the objection is, I don't want to buy a new home because I'm too scared of what's going to happen to rates over a 6-month or 3-month or a 9-month, 12-month period. So again, your approach has got to be relevant to what they're currently working with. Amanda Ray, who's go ahead.
Hey, before you go to another strategy, because there's a few things I want to call out and break down on that. Before I do that, Jeremy, is there anything you want to call out? I mean, I want you to kind of put your coach's hat on, and everyone who's watching this is getting coached by Jeremy. What do you want to make sure people heard just now? And what do people need to do?
First thing that jumped out at me is just the clarity of ask. Like we all want a yes or a no, but you can only get a real direct yes or no if it's really clear to what the person is saying yes or no to. So like the flyer, even before the TCAs, was like a yes or no for 4 different options though, for a yes or no, right? So it's like, oh, no, yes, right? So options are always very important, but clarity of options is even more important. Then step 2 was the casting of what could happen. If people are afraid of what they can't control right now in a decision, they're always afraid of what might happen in the future. So by showing that like this could happen in the future, or this could happen in the future, that creates, once again, clarity. So the more clarity that someone can have, the easier it is for someone to make a purchase with you. So I just thought it was MVP, VIP, all-time Hall of Fame example of that and how they work together in 2 steps.
Love that. So I want to call out a few things why what Shayla just shared is so important for everyone to master. And I'm going to start with data. Well, I don't know that this was a move up home or not, but if you're a loan officer, like it's a new era in mortgage. You know, this is every family in America that's got a mortgage that starts with 2%. Every family in America that has a mortgage that starts at 3%. Every mortgage in America that starts for 4%. By the way, guys, no realtor, no builder that's selling a move-up house has ever had to like, hey, I know that you want this property and it's got the room you want, but you've got a 2%, 3% mortgage. Like, this is not something any builder or realtor in America has ever faced. Number two, for anyone that doesn't know what the 50-year average of interest rates is, it's 7%. Even the most optimistic leaders I know in the mortgage industry will say that we are now in an era where rates are going to be between 4 and 6%. By the way, that's optimistic. The other audience is 5 to 7%. Like, that's the world that we operate in, a world where 60% of America has a rate that starts with 2 or 3%. So that's like data. Also, this is not going to change. I mean, this is the historical average of new construction. This is what it's at right now. And it's not going to get less. So first of all, every loan officer and lender in America, you need to be a first-time homebuyer specialist and be able to help first-time homebuyers have the confidence to make an offer that they win. And you also need to be a badass at like turning household hostages and accidental landlords into, you know what, I'm going to move up. Like, this is the era that we're in. And so my entire career, and Shayla, I know this is true for you, because if you're in mortgage, speed to lead has always been like, if you could just be the first one there, show up with curiosity and care, you're going to win. Guys, we're in a new era, and I would just say speed to lead is not enough. It's about speed to need. And you notice how she kicked it off. Like, when I asked her, hey, how do you win with builders? First of all, you need to know their needs. You need to know where they're at. You need to know what their pain is. You need to know what their problems are. You could have been the first loan officer to call on that builder at the right time, but if you weren't the first one to get to the need of the realtor or the consumer, you're not going to win in this market. And so I could go on. I do want to show real quick. There is another. I don't know if you've seen this. This is Amber Kovark. I did an interview with her. I don't know. I've interviewed her so many times. You'll notice that she has this QR code, guys. Drag your phone over that, and that QR code is going to a total cost analysis. Go ahead, Sheila. I saw you getting your camera out. And by the way, this is a speed to need strategy where you're taking generic content around a property and then think of this as hyper-personalized. The total cost analysis, the hyper-local, the hyper-personal experience. You notice Shayla started with, a flyer that was generic. It was local. It was designed around a specific property. But then, guys, to really execute on speed to need, we need to get uber personal. We need to personalize in an extreme way. Shayla, any thoughts on that before we have you share another one?
No, I think that's brilliant. Like you said, you have to know their need and exactly where they're at. And you just do that by asking questions of where they're at and what do they got going on. And I think that that's another place that people get reserved. Like, I don't want to over ask. Guys, we ask people for their social, their income, their assets, like everything. We should be the best questioners in the world because we're asking for the most intimate details, and yet people give it to us. So I've learned, if nothing else, by taking a lot of 1003s, that you can ask almost anything and most people will just tell you, especially if it's coming from this like loving place and it's relevant to like, I want to help you. So walk out of that meeting and go, did I ask all that I wanted to ask? And if not, like what is holding me back? What's the worst thing that could happen? I offend somebody. Most of you just generally could not offend somebody because you're there for a good reason and a good intent. I want to share Amanda's stuff here. Amanda's works for me. She was my first assistant ever. She's a total badass. Now been an LO on her own for 8 or 9, 10 years. And she is currently number 1 in MortgageCoach TCAs at Olive Guild Mortgage. She's number 1 in my district and branches right now. Jorge is really close to her.
Amanda, you rock.
Amanda Ray. So, what's so interesting about Amanda is I asked her for help in preparation for this call. And I think she doesn't realize that she's special. Because she's like, oh, I don't know. I'm not really doing anything abnormal. I haven't really created anything new or interesting lately. I'm not, and I'm like, just send me what you got. And then she sends it to me and I'm freaking blown away. Right. So what I think she's doing really well is at the beginning of the year, she committed to once a week emails to agents to share a strategy or to share a testimonial that works or that has worked. And so every week she's thinking about how can I teach or bring something of value. So here's what she did, and I'll send this to you, Dave, but she has 4 TCAs that she sends to a bunch of clients. And then she said a long video. Well, her video is 8 minutes long, 8 minutes and 46 seconds. She shot it on Zoom so that she could share her screen. And she walks through what a temporary buy down is, what a permanent buy down is, what a seller credit is. And she includes the TCAs right here in the body of her email. So, I think when we want to help realtors, we need to educate them, but really moreover, we need to give them stuff they can share. Because so often the frustration I hear from loan officers is like, I've explained the 2-1 buy down 4 times to a realtor and like, I'm still explaining it. And I'm like, well, that's great because that's not their job. Like they need to be really good at overcoming these other objections and landing these certain milestones. Like they don't need to do your job and their job. They've got to get good at this, but they've got to know that you understand the value of their effort and what they're doing, and they can pass the baton to you and you're going to crush it for them. Because a realtor, guys, right now is not going to hand over their $20,000 precious paycheck or $10,000 precious paycheck that are very far and few between coming along, unless they know they hand that baton and you firmly grab it and you're sprinting with them at the highest level, right? So what Amanda's done is she's created these tools that a realtor can then forward onto a borrower, right? And even if they're not the one to forward it, they know that she does this and creates this all the time. So they can refer with confidence that she's capable and that she's going to help them figure it out. So I have all the individual TCAs for Amanda, but essentially, again, like she said, oh gosh, they're nothing special, but isn't it amazing that if you are highly visible and you're teaching and demonstrating, you become special because you just assume everyone else is doing it and everyone already knows this, but they don't. So this is going back to the good old seller credit versus a lower price. She demonstrates a $400,000 price versus dropping it by 20 grand to 380. You only save $151 a month if you got a $20,000 price reduction. But if instead you got a $20,000 seller credit, you save $446 a month. If you got a $10,000 seller credit, you save $291 a month. So very simple strategy that really gets people to understand that a seller credit and affecting their interest rate is going to be more important. Let's not get stuck on the price. She explains a 3-2-1 buy down and what that looks like for year 1, year 2, year 3, and then the normal years 4 through 30. The next one, she's got different seller credits. Like if on this video, she explains that on an FHA loan, you can get up to a 6% seller credit. So let's just run some scenarios. What if you got 2%? Here's how much your rate could be bought down. What if you got 4%? Here's how much your rate could be bought down. And you know what I think that does in helping a realtor is it doesn't set the expectation that if I don't get 6, my realtor sucked or I got a bad deal. Because I think we have to be so cognizant of we are the realtor's partner. We've got to like give them a softball. We got to give them a layup so that they can dunk the ball. So we want to educate and give people options and stimulate their thinking. I think you might've said it, Dave, but ideas breed hope. Why do we need to keep talking about programs? Like, I'm so passionate right now about reverse mortgages. I've just embraced it. I'm so fired up on it. I'm fired up on first-time home buyers. We have a mission to help 500 this year, and we're over 300 and something. So I think that when you get into these products and explaining them to people, especially realtors, you never tire of this stuff, guys. You can't. I'm 19 years in. Jeremy, you're probably the same. Like you got to keep your energy around this because ideas breed hope. And it's with optimism and enthusiasm and fanatical prospecting that you get lucky in business. You keep finding success in whatever market you have.
Love it. Jeremy, before I pull out and break down a few takeaways, anything you want to add to that?
Well, she literally just summarized the 7 mindsets of fanatical prospectors. She showed us in real life and in real time that she's optimistic, she's confident, she's relentless, she's hungry for knowledge and to always improve yourself. She's systematic and adaptable. So you did a crazy ninja job of literally showing the 7 mindsets of that book throughout this presentation. So no, I wrote down that I absolutely need to make sure that I'm highlighting how to not make the realtor look bad. I think I've done that very poorly. I think we all probably are doing that pretty poorly on like, if, hey, here's a 3-2-1 buy down, but you need a $15,000 credit, right? Your realtor can negotiate that, but not showing if you can't get the $15,000 credit, if they can get something else. That was a huge takeaway for me.
So anyone watching this, I want to make sure you got a little homework assignment. So Shayla shared a couple different TCAs, and every one of those was tailor, teach, control, wrapped in constructive tension. I want you to write, what was the need? Like, this looks like it might've been a first-time home buyer, but like write down, the need was this, and the solution was this. Write this down, because training yourself to always go need, and then what was my solution? This is how we get better. And by the way, when she said, oh, this is nothing special, well, when 90% of loan officers in America are delivering this fee worksheet, this is really something special. So again, speed to need training. I've had a bunch of people ask for things. The slides for this, if you go into the Savage Insights Mobile Club, you can just put your phone over that, or you can text 949-799-0837, and I will make sure that you get a link to these slides. And as soon as this video is on our YouTube channel, we'll also announce that. So Shayla, before we run out of time, I said it to kick this off, like, I feel like advice matters. And I want, the whole Mortgage Coach 10X training is turning loan officers into advisors. But the only thing that matters more is prospecting. And you have put a lot of time and attention into, as I've seen it, being a participant, kind of like book club around fanatical prospecting. So like, first of all, why did you pick that as your theme? I think I know the answer, but I know the way you'll answer it. Jeremy and I will both get new ideas. So why did you pick that, and what is it?
Well, first of all, prospecting and understanding what it means and understanding the sport and the game is what changed my life. I mean, the first 6 years of being a loan officer, I've always had intensity. I've always had passion. I've always had, strategic abilities to solve problems. And I had 4 years of sales experience prior to getting in the business. So I understood how to emotionally connect. And I had like the raw materials. I had them all, but I had hit a plateau in my business where I just feel like I was stuck and I couldn't grow. And I had hunger and drive and enthusiasm and all the things. And it wasn't until I started becoming more masterful and becoming a professional salesperson that my income blew up, my results blew up, my ability to impact and influence and help more people blew up. And so I just know that it's fanatical prospecting. That's the result. It's not like it's only available for certain people. And because I've taught it for so long and coached it for so long, I've seen the results that it's the playbook, it's the skill set, it's the mindset of being a fanatical prospector, of waking up every day and saying, I'm looking for opportunity. I believe in abundance. There's a way that I can give and serve. And there's opportunity everywhere. Having that mindset and then being organized with our time, with our strategies, being effective. Jeremy and I talk a lot about that all the time. It's not about efficiency, but being effective. And I was worried actually that when I rolled this out to my team, because I have about 30 loan officers that work for me. So I rolled this out to my team first and said, this is the only thing that we need to be talking about the next 6 months, period, end of story. Rates are not going to come down until all this excess money that's in the market and COVID savings accounts are depleted. We're depleting them quickly, but it's still going to take another 3 to 6 months. So what skill set can you learn and employ right now that will forever change your life? Guaranteed. Like the legacy I will leave to my grandchildren in terms of wealth creation is insane. And that's because of Fanatical Prospecting. It's also had to do with me being at the right time at the right place. You know, I'm not confused that looking at that rate chart and rates going way up, I got involved in 04. I've been part of that dip for the last 12 or 14 years. I've been very, very blessed and lucky to have market conditions that helped me. But the point is, for 6 years, I was not fanatically prospecting. I was coming in and reacting. I wasn't on purpose. I didn't know how to do it. So to have a book like this, I mean, I haven't even met Jeb yet, but I've literally probably sold over 300 copies of his book in the last few weeks. And so I'm just like, you know, I want the book to be the bad guy. Like, look, if you work with me, I'll get in your face and I'll shake you up and I'll call you to the carpet and I'll ask the tough questions. But this is the book. Like, can you stick with something and do the disciplines and do the tracking? So now with social media and the fact that I lead all the branch managers at Guild, I just decided, Dave, if I'm going to do it for my 30, I'm going to live it all the way through. I've got a sticky note on my thing that says Fanatical Prospecting. I'm just going to take it in every area. And I've talked to all kinds of friends that are not in the mortgage industry. And they're like, can I do this? I'm not a loan officer. I'm not a realtor. And I'm like, yeah. Like, what would be a badass goal that you would want to accomplish in 6 months? If you look back and said, wow, what would it be? I've got a friend who wants to, you know, book 16 keynote speaking gigs and start a mastermind class. I've got a friend that wants to get a feature film started in production in 6 months. And none of those things would have come to the surface exactly without me having those conversations with them. And all of a sudden working backwards to go, how do you accomplish that big goal? And then why is this so important? And all the things around it, like getting organized and staying healthy and have a clean mindset and, you know, showing up to calls like these. So I'm pretty fired up on it. It's the only thing I want to talk about these days.
I love it. Jeremy, anything you want to call out there or any questions before I ask a couple things to make sure they got a few takeaways?
I'm just lucky to be in the first row of the audience. So no, I'm stoked. I have all kinds of notes like crazy. So thank you for sharing that. It is a great book. I love it too. So I'm going to pick mine back up again and go through it.
And Shayla, if anybody wants to, you know, I know you're making that available beyond just Guild. If anyone wants to sign up and be part of it, what do they do? Where do they go?
Yeah, so I actually cut off signups because it's really hard to get everybody going. But the only thing you're missing is not getting text messages from me a couple times a week. But if you, the easiest way to keep following along is to join my channel on Instagram. So you can't do it with a business account, I've learned. You have to do it with a personal account. So if you go to @ShayGiff in my, I'll put it in my name here.
We'll put a link. Yeah, we'll put a link down below. Follow Shayla, follow Jeremy. They're both creating killer content. And they really define themselves by the value they help for other folks. You know, they're givers. So we're going to go into wrap up mode. This is something Shayla also put in. I'm just going to show a quick screenshot. You guys can grab that. I hope everyone noticed that when Shayla was giving the whole presentation, Jeremy like pulled out the code because he's read the book. He's probably taught this to people. So he knows it so well he could teach it too because he knows the code. And guys, that's what Killing It is all about. It's knowing these success codes. You know, this 10X program is all about advice. I did want to just show that graph one more time. Well, actually, I don't think I showed this graph in this call, but Shayla, you said you started in 2004. So right about right here, rates went down to 2. Jeremy, when did you start?
Same, July 2024. Oh, excuse me, 2004. Yeah.
Now, when I started, this little box was my first 5 years in the industry. Rates were above 10% the whole time. I actually thought I missed the party because everybody who got in before me, they all had Mercedes, they all bought houses. And then it was just like, I grinded. But guys, this is where we're at. And here's the deal. If you want to kill it, the next 5 to 10 years for those that are left once we bottom is going to be amazing. You know, like housing is going to be amazing. Housing is amazing, but you need to be an advisor. You need to go from loan officer to advisor. You need to be ready to optimize your database. First of all, you should be optimizing your database right now there are leads and loans in your database, but when rates do start to trickle down, there's going to be some loan officers, you know, if you're using Trust Engine and Mortgage Coach, where we're automating those loans, like we're literally making it easier than ever. So Shayla, we got 3 minutes left. Any closing thoughts? You know, the conversation we've had, any closing thoughts you have for anyone tuned into this session?
Yeah, it's wide open. The field is wide open. And just remember that the best loan officer is not the highest paid loan officer. You've got to learn these skills. Like I know loan officers that literally have every guideline memorized. They could put together the most tough, intense tax returns. I was that person. I didn't even have a processor my first 6 years. I like really had the entire MRI guide memorized in my head. And, you know, I did a lot of volume. I did 20 loans a month for a long time with no help and no assistance. So I was wicked efficient. I had 2 phones to my ear all the time, but I hit a plateau. And when I heard that it's not about being the best loan officer, it's about being the best sales professional. And Dave, what I really appreciate about what you do here for the community is that you're helping us become professional salespeople, professional business people in the mortgage space, because it is an art and it is a science. And then it's fanatical prospecting. If you're only going to talk to 3 people with these incredible skills, you're going to get that kind of result. If you could talk to 100, if you can get your word out there, and you expose this to so many people that do it in best of class. My question for you watching is, why not you? What are you going to learn next? What are you going to improve upon from this call? Are you going to leave this feeling like, whoa, I'm motivated? Or are you going to say, these are the 2 things I'm going to do? And that's the difference for Jeremy and I. I started in July of 2004, same as Jeremy. We met exact same time entering coaching. It's crazy.
Yep.
And we've both had this journey. And I tell you, the difference is that him and I are both knuckleheads, but we always took away implementation and then did it. And that's the difference. And I hope you choose to implement.
Love that.
Love that. Jeremy, any last thoughts before we wrap it?
No, just thanks for being a gift in my life, Shay. I love you a ton. And don't underestimate what she said, right? Execute first, fix later. She didn't say it that way, but that's really like, that's my takeaway is that I had 13 people do a site visit yesterday to spend Sunday night and all day yesterday with me. And I literally just did sales calls. Like they were really thrown off guard. It wasn't like presentations with my team like I usually do. Nothing. I was like, listen, this is what I'm doing right now, and this is what you should see. And they were like, what's the secret sauce? And it was what Shayla just said. I execute first, and then I fix it. I figure out what I did wrong. It didn't feel right. So just execute. Take the ideas and execute. You can always fix it. Always fix it.
So folks, play this forward, you know, watch this again. If you're a manager, build a sales meeting around this, make it yours. Share this with any mortgage friends that you have. If you don't already subscribe to the Mortgage Coach YouTube channel, subscribe today. That's best practices for loan officers. If you don't subscribe to the Trust Engine YouTube channel, that's innovation leadership for leaders. Give Shayla and Jeremy a big heart. First of all, both of you, thank you so much. You know, you guys inspire me. You give me energy. You give so much value to this community. This is a wrap. Take care, you guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Everyone.
Cheers.
Thank you.